FDR and Truman had already tried to provide some form of national health insurance, but guess what? They found themselves the target of very expensive lobbying efforts. Does any of this sound familiar? They were opposed by conservatives in Congress. They were called, oh my God, socialists. Socialists. Teddy Roosevelt was called a socialist, Harry Truman, Lyndon Johnson. And it took political will and organizing and the conviction, the strength of conviction that we are all better off when we're all better off, to actually implement those programs. And much of that organizing was led by our labor community. And so I really want to say again how fortunate we are to have the strength of the labor community, one of the highest labor densities in the country, right here. Give it up for that. Come on, people. I know it's hot, but you know, we still celebrate. And so when you hear that expanding Social Security and Medicare for all are just pipe dreams and they're so radical and they're so crazy, just know that this is the same fight we have been fighting for a very long time. This is actually the fight that has been won in most of the rest of the countries, our peer industrialized countries around the world. And so we are still fighting because we know that this is not just possible, it is necessary. We have this historic opportunity, but we also have a tremendous responsibility. Our inequality in this country is the worst since the 1920s. The worst since the 1920s. 3 people in the United States of America have the same wealth as 160 million Americans. 2 of those 3 live in our state. That is the kind of inequality we are dealing with today, and that is why we are pushing for expanding Social Security and Medicare for all. So let me tell you, in Congress, we have made great, bold steps. We've actually passed 115 bold pieces of legislation since Democrats took over the House, and for the first time, we have had a hearing in the Ways and Means Committee on Representative John Larson's bill to expand Social Security, the HR 2100, which actually would increase the cap. We will eventually get to scrap the cap, but increase the cap. It's a huge thing to be able to increase the income threshold, to be able to provide real COLA benefits, and to be able to say that your Social Security benefits should not be taxed. That's what we're going to be able to do if we pass 2100. And you know what? There wasn't a lot of energy to try to pass that bill. But as the co-chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, working with groups like Social Security Works and the coalition across the country that has been pushing for this, we will bring that bill to the House floor when we get back from our August recess. And then just because I have to, let me just say a few words about Medicare for all. I mean, I have to, right? Right, Jack says I have to. I have to. Because guess what? I'm the lead sponsor of Medicare for all in the House of Representatives. And we have just passed the threshold of more than half of the Democratic caucus being co-sponsors on the Medicare for All Act of 2019. We have had historic hearings in the House of Representatives, 3 now, and we are getting ready for a 4th, we hope, in the fall in the Energy and Commerce Committee on a 120-plus page bill helped draft. It was drafted in part with advocates across the country, experts on healthcare across the country, many of you in the room, in the arena here today, and we have a plan. We have a plan, and don't listen to all the myths and the lies and the misrepresentations about Medicare for all that you might see on the debate stage, that you might hear from the TV hosts. Maybe some of you saw my Washington Post op-ed on Medicare for all, taking on those lies that was in the Post on Friday, because I'm just like, we can't use Republican talking points and industry front group talking points to talk about Medicare for all. This is a real plan. This is a plan that has everybody in and nobody out. This is a plan that would actually make sure we put patients over profits. This is a plan that says to people, we want you to be well. We want you to see the doctor. We don't want your copays and your premiums and your deductibles to come in the way. We don't want somebody who has employer-sponsored health care to still be paying $20,000 to $40,000 out of pocket. And you know, when they say that labor unions fought so hard to get that employer-based health care, yes, absolutely right. Let's give it up for our labor brothers and sisters for making that real. But do not use that as an excuse to say that now labor unions want to stick with that. My brothers and sisters in labor, and oh, by the way, over the majority of all the major unions in this country, Mary Kay Henry and SEIU, Randy Weingarten and AFT, the NEA, the mine workers, the United Auto Workers, these are all labor unions who have endorsed Medicare for All. You know why? You know why. You know why. Jeff Johnson's nodding his head. He knows why. I bet Larry knows exactly why. Because, oh yeah, and the machinists too. Sorry, Larry. Machinists have also endorsed Medicare for All. Here's why. If you only have a buck at the bargaining table and you have to put 60 cents of that into health care benefits, guess what that does to wages? You leave that 60 cents for wages on the table, and there is a direct correlation between the stagnation of wages and the rising for-profit insurance company premiums that are out there and pharmaceutical drug prices. When you have 500,000 people, 500,000 Americans who declare bankruptcy every year because of medical costs, something is wrong. Shame on us. When you have insulin costing 10 times as much in Canada as it does here, shame on us. And labor unions are with us because they want to bring the power back to workers to actually get increased wages and get health care, not only for those workers who have good union plans that are getting more and more expensive, but for everybody. Labor understands that collective power of all of us for all of us. So you should clap for that. Jeff Johnson really wants to clap for that. So let me tell you, we are going to win this fight, but it's going to mean that we have to continue to come together. We have to continue to advocate for what we know is right. We have to fight back against the thinking that somehow you can get big things done and address the biggest crises in our country by thinking small. We have never been able to do that in the history of the country. We are a big, bold, ambitious nation. We know we have to continue to make things better for everybody across our country. We have eliminated slavery. We have sent a man to the moon. We have given